What's going on, everybody? Paddle and Fin has got a meetup going down October 16th through 18th at Eastport Marina and Resort in Alpine, Tennessee, which falls right on Dale Hollow. What we're going to be doing is just hanging out, fishing. Depending on the number of people that show up and the interest, we may do a small tournament. We will have some stuff to give away. Saturday evening, we're going to do a hangout and a little barbecue action. We'll have food for everybody. If you're looking for lodging, you could stay right at the resort. It's $50 per person per night. And what you get is your own personal bedroom on a houseboat, luxury houseboat, courtesy Eastport Marina. That's a special price they gave us to lend to our listeners. If you want more info on the resort, you can go to eastport.info and their website will pop up there. You'll see all the houseboats and things like that. A majority of our hosts are going to be there, and we would love to spend some time on the water with you.
This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
You're listening to Bass Fishing for Noobs on the Paddle and Fin podcast with your hosts Ryan Milford and Sean Lavery. Welcome back to Paddle and Fin. This is the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment. I'm Ryan. And we got Sean.
Hey guys.
And today it's just me and Sean in here. And we were going to do a little tournament recap from a noob perspective. You know, Sean had a tournament this weekend. I had a tournament this weekend. And yeah, we're just going to go over our experience with the tournaments and, you know, go from there. So first off, Sean, how are you?
I'm not doing too bad, hanging in there. Wish my weekend was a little bit longer, but I got to fish both yesterday and today, so can't complain about that. So
2 days of fishing. You must have earned some brownie points with the wife to let you do that.
Yeah, this afternoon I was like, I got nothing else to do. I finished up all my schoolwork, and she's like, just go fishing. I know that's what you want to do. So I made it back by dinner time, so she was happy.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually got to go fishing during the week last week on Thursday. Got off work a little bit early, and I knew we were going to be getting off a little early, so I took my kayak to work with me. And afterwards, you know, I went straight to, you know, I had a tournament Saturday, and so I went to pre-fish for that tournament for like 3 hours, and I did all right then. As far as it was a 3-fish limit on the tournament, okay. And I actually did better in pre-fishing as far as like my best 3 in pre-fishing than I did in the actual tournament.
Did the conditions change a lot between the pre-fishing and the tournament day?
No, not really. Mainly it was a little bit colder. We had a little bit of a cold front. After that, so I think the high on Thursday was like 75, 76, and the high for Saturday was like 68 or something like that. So, which I think it might have actually got a little bit warmer than that because we were getting a little warm out there on the water. But yeah, it was a little bit cooler. So other than that, it was about the same.
Okay.
A little less wind too. There's more wind when I was pre-fishing.
Well, that makes it nice, at least for tournament day, rather.
Yeah. So
you fished with your dad in that tournament, right?
Yeah. My dad came and fished in the tournament. Oh, yeah. I got a story for that too. But
well, yeah, I can go first. Mine's pretty short and sweet. I had the Kayak Anglers of Central PA. Their premier event. It's their supposedly their, you know, it's the one that kind of determines the AOI. It's the final one for AOI and that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it was on Lake Marburg, which is I was actually happy for once because it was pretty close to me. Some of the other events have been like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive for me. So this was only 40 minutes. I'd never fished the lake before, and it's a big lake. So I knew that going in that it was going to be a little bit of a challenge for me. So I went out. I talked to a guy at a bait shop, and he was saying that drop shot is the way to go there because it's very deep, much deeper than Redmond is, where I normally fish. So I started out throwing drop shot, but I still have no confidence in that whatsoever. So I did that for like the first hour and gave up on it and started throwing some of my normal stuff. I ended up catching the only bass I caught all day on a steel shad. So I wanted to use it like a blade bait where I was dropping it to the bottom and picking it up and hopping it, kind of like what was that gentleman we just had on that was talking about that? I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he was talking about using a spoon and just jigging it off the bottom because I could see the fish, but I couldn't get them to bite at all on the drop shot at all. And then I ended up kind of just casting and retrieving the steel shad, and that's how I caught my one bass. And then I actually missed a bass or something on a wacky rig. I had casted it out and then was doing something in my kayak, I think moving something, and when I picked my rod back up and started reeling, I realized that my lure was right next to me. My line had come all the way back, so whatever grabbed my Senko swam back towards me, and by the time I set the hook, he was gone, and he took my Senko with him. So
that's crazy.
I don't know what it was, and that sadly, my one fish was good enough for 6th place in that tournament. So a lot of people struggled. The top guy had like 90 inches, and the next closest guy had like 40, and then the next guy only had 2 fish, and then 4th place on down was all 1 fish only. So if I could have got that other fish, I would have been, definitely higher than I was. So, but I was glad to see that a lot of people struggled because it made me feel a little better.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it sounded like that fish wanted to play fetch with you.
I just wish I would have been paying attention because I usually try and pay really close attention, but sometimes if I'm, it's been a while since I caught anything, I sometimes, let my attention wane a little bit and not necessarily pay attention as much as I should. And if I would have been paying attention, I probably would have got that fish. But again, those were the only 2 bites I got all day. So, and I tried, after a couple, maybe 2 or 3 hours of doing my normal stuff, I just started trying anything and everything. I threw the Wicked Willow for a while. I tried some topwater. I went deep. I went shallow. I went all over the lake. I pedaled, I think, 4.5 miles by my Navionics app. So I definitely went all around that lake and tried every possible place I could think of. But all in all, I was happy to not get skunked and definitely learned a new body of water. So
yeah, and placed pretty well too. How many people were in that tournament?
Not a ton. I want to say like 15. So.
Well, that's awesome. So out of like 15 people, you said like, I think it was like 7 people total caught a fish.
Yep. Paul Strom was right below me. He had a 13-point-something inch fish. It's his only fish, and below him, nobody caught a fish. So, yeah, it was definitely a tough bite for some people. I have no clue what the guy who caught 90 inches was throwing or where he was, but Jedediah Plunkett was also there. He, I think, got 2nd place, but I didn't know it at the time because apparently he dropped his phone in the water and had to submit his fish later, but I guess they let him do it. So he ended up getting 2nd, and he wasn't even on the board when the last time I looked. But then I got an email this morning saying that he had placed second. So then I went on his Instagram page and I saw that he had dropped his phone in the water, and I guess had to figure out a way to submit his pictures. So
crazy, man.
yeah, but it was fun. So how about you?
Well, like I said, I pre-fished Thursday for my tournament. Got off work, headed straight out there. I had messaged a buddy of mine like a day or two before. I got a guy named Thomas that I've been fishing with quite a bit here lately, and I told him, and so he was able to get off work early too and met me out there. And sorry, something in my throat there. But yeah, so we got out there and we were fishing. Within probably my first 4 or 5 casts, I caught a fish. It took me a while I caught it on a crankbait. It took me a while to get the triple hooks out of its mouth, so I didn't put it on the board. I just got it back in the water as quick as I could. But I was guessing probably like a 14-incher.
Okay.
He got out there. I ended up catching one on the jig. It was about 13. I caught one that was like 14 3/4. Caught another one that was like 13-ish. And then I caught another one. This is kind of funny. He stayed out there and fished. When I went to leave, because I told my wife I wouldn't be out there real long. I just wanted to get a little feel for it. So I get back to the boat ramp, pull my kayak up on the boat ramp. I go get my truck back down to the boat ramp, get out. I'm starting to load stuff up, and I see a little movement in this tree that's probably like 20 foot off the boat ramp. It's lay down, and I see a little movement. So I cast a Wicked Willow with that Kitech on there over there. First cast, boom! I caught one that it might have measured 12 inches, but yeah, I'll just say it was 12 inches, so I can say I caught 5 measurable fish in 3 hours. So yeah, so tournament day, my dad had told me in advance that that he's like, I'll go fish that, because he has a kayak. He bought it last year because he wanted to go with me, but he's only used it like 2 times. He's not a big fan of it. I think part of his problem is he has shoulder issues. He's had a couple surgeries that kind of more on his neck, but it was like related to the shoulder, like his issue. He's broad like I am, but he can't curl no more than like 10 pounds just because his, I guess, issues won't allow him to do that. And so I think those issues kind of mess with him with paddling.
I can definitely see where that would be an issue.
Yeah. So get back to what I was saying. He's not a big kayak fan due to that, but he's like, yeah, I'm good with you. So he's like, what all do I need? So like, I told him one night, and he ordered him a Yak Attack flag and light combo. He ordered him one of those carbonate boards from Ketch, and I got all that in time. And he came out there with me. I actually met him at his house, and I loaded all my stuff into his truck, and we rode out there together. Yeah, we met up with a couple buddies. I got out there, like through the whole tournament season stuff. Some people I've met, Thomas, the one I was talking about, and another guy named Todd, and we were all talking, and we all went to the same lake. Oh, that's something I didn't mention is this tournament. It's at a place called Williamsport. It's ran by the TWRA, and basically there's like 3 they call them lakes. They're basically just big ponds. Really, so the one we went to is like a really big pond. It's the closest to a lake that you're gonna get out there. Okay. But yeah, so we had a choice between the 3, which one we wanted to fish at. So we decided on this one because the smallest one is the one that a lot of people really like, but it was really low. So I was like, I don't really. It's going to be really hit or miss there. So the next biggest one is it's probably the other most popular one. So my thinking was, okay, let's go to this one because I don't think very many people are going to go back there. And all of them got big fish in them. They all have big fish. So we get back there, and it seemed like almost everybody went back there. I counted. I'm wanting to say there was it was either 12 or 14 people launching from this one lake, and I think there was somewhere between 25, 30 people total.
Okay.
And so we're all lined up. It was actually kind of like an afternoon tournament. We could launch at 11:15, but we couldn't. Lines in wasn't until 11:30. So we're all lined up, ready to go. It's almost 11:15, so people were starting to get in their kayak and get ready to take off. I get in mine. I back off a little bit because there's so many people. I was just going to back out and just sit in the water a little bit so other people would have room. Well, my dad is going to get in his kayak, and he's still new to it or whatever. So the front of his kayak's sitting up on the bank, all right, on the point of the V.
Yep.
Just sitting on. Well, he didn't bring it into the water or anything, so he climbed in it like it was, and when he did, it started rocking back and forth, and he's trying to save it. And I couldn't do anything because I'm out in the water. So two other guys run and try to catch him, but it was too late. He tipped over right there in front of everybody, hit the water. He was good spirits. I think it embarrassed him a little bit because everybody was standing there, but yeah, he got up. He's like, well, it was starting to get kind of hot out here. Now I'm cooled off. But so yeah, he got in the kayak, and 11:15 came. We launched, and I got to a spot that I felt comfortable with, and I don't know. I feel like I'm already getting long-winded, and the tournament ain't even started yet. But yeah, so the day we were pre-fishing, there was a older gentleman out there in a John boat, and he was telling us oh, try this worm out. Where's bass out here? It was he said it was a Zoom worm, but it looked like it was 4-inch curly tail red worm.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, all the butterflies and stuff are out here are red, so this kills them. I was like, okay, so I tied it on. I started out with crankbait though. I was throwing that for I'm wanting to say it was probably 30, 40 minutes, something like that. And then I was like, let me try this out. It's still a little cool out here, not as warm as it was when I was getting the bites on the crankbait the other day. So let me slow down a little bit. So I took this and I cast out with that little red worm, and probably my second or third cast on that, I got a hit, set the hook, and I'm bringing it in, and it comes up and jumps, and it looks like it's probably around 16. And it spit my hook. Yeah, it hurt a little bit. I was like, man, I really wanted to get on the board early with that. But, yeah, so it was probably 10, 15 minutes later, I actually got my first fish, 12 3/4. So I got on the board pretty early. Felt pretty confident then. I don't think it was long after that. I think maybe another 30, 45 minutes, I got my second fish. and it was right at 12, like barely going over the 12-inch mark. So yeah, I was feeling good. Nobody else around me had 2 fish yet. Only like 1 or 2 people that I talked to even had fish yet. I was the only one with 2 that I knew of. So yeah, it was probably, maybe 5 or 10 minutes after that. I was throwing a crankbait, which I caught that second one on the crankbait. I caught both my first and second on the crankbait. But I'm still throwing it. I'm back in this little cove, and I get bit again. Set the hook, bringing it in, and right at the kayak, right as I'm about to bring it in. And this one here was probably close to 14, just guessing off what I saw of it. And it came off.
Oh.
So I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but I started. My thought was, well, last weekend at the tournament, this was the main crankbait I was throwing. That's what I caught like all my fish on, except for one. Pre-fishing, that's the crankbait I was throwing, and then I've caught a couple with it on this tournament day. So I was thinking maybe these hooks are starting to dull a little bit. So I had another crankbait just like it, and so I cut that one off and put on the new one, thinking maybe sharper hooks, I won't be losing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I did. I don't think I lost any more the rest of the day. But man, I'll tell you, I caught a ton of fish yesterday, like at that tournament. Most all of them, I'm wanting to say it was probably like somewhere between 6 and 8 fish that I caught between like 10 and 11 and a half inches.
Wow. Just too small.
Yeah. But yeah, a couple hours after my second fish on the, like, that was measurable, I ended up catching well, let me rewind a little bit. Okay, I was in this little cove inside a bigger cove, I guess you could call it. Well, my dad had went out doing his own thing, so I went out there. I was gonna see where he's at, see if he caught any fish, because he's never even put a fish on a board before, so he's gonna need help, if like some advice whenever he goes to do it. But I went out there and I saw my buddy Todd. He hadn't had any luck. I think he said he had like 1 bite, but he missed it or whatever. I talked to my dad. He hadn't had any luck. He said he had talked to a couple people that were out in this area and said they had no luck. So I was like, well, dang, maybe I'm doing pretty good with these 2 small fish. So I was like, I'm gonna go back in here in this cove where I've been getting like they're biting, and see if I can get my 3rd fish. So I went back in there, and I ended up getting another fish that was 12 inches, and so that was my limit. I had a 12 3/4, 2 12s, and man, I fished and fished, and my buddy Thomas, he had 2 fish, I think in the 13 to 15 range.
Okay.
And so he had some bigger fish than me, but he didn't have his 3rd yet. But I'm pounding it. Nobody else seemed to have a limit that I talked to. So I'm like, I might actually have a shot at this, having a limit. I need a kicker fish. I need to upgrade. And dude, I grinded and grinded, and I kept catching more and more fish that were too short. And I went all over this lake. Like I can't even tell you how much distance I covered. And I covered the same area several times because it seemed like it was mainly in that cove where I was getting bites. But yeah, so I finally got around to this other side of the lake from where I'd started, and I ran into a couple people. One of the other lakes, the medium-sized one, people were coming from there up to the one we were at. They said it was really, the water was really nasty down there. Said it almost looked like the lake had turned over.
Oh.
Yeah, it said it was really muddy. Nobody was catching fish down there. Well, one of the guys that came up there that I ran into, Paris Edwards. We're actually supposed to be having him on soon, so hopefully we can get that worked out. But yeah, I ran into him, and he came up there, put in this lake that had been fishing all day, and pretty much as soon as he put in, I think he caught like a 19, a 14 and 3/4, and a 14.
Wow.
I was like, what? Yeah, and he's known locally to be a good fisherman. So, but yeah, so that kind of bummed me out a little bit, but I kept fishing. I fished till the end. I never got an upgrade. My dad never caught a fish. My buddy Todd, he caught one fish that was too small to count. And my buddy Thomas, he got 3 fish. He placed higher than me, but I think he finished like 6th. But yeah, so we all packed up and went to the meeting and everything. I was kind of down on myself and really thinking about it. I really, there's no reason I should be. Here just a couple weeks ago, I finally broke a streak of skunking. I'd skunked for like a month straight or something like that. And here I am, a day where I caught probably, it had to be 10 or more fish. Just they're all like smaller fish, but I caught several fish, and like I feel bad about my day. And I guess like the tournament thing just kind of brings out the competitive side of me, and I want to be up there because last week's tournament I came in 4th, and so like I was really expecting to do a lot better in this tournament. And then with everybody I'm talking to having like no fish or 1 fish, I felt really good having a limit. But no, come to find out, the little lake where I said everybody likes to go, that was low. Yeah, Adam Reiser. Some people might know his name.
Yep.
Yeah, he was fishing that lake, and he ended up winning it. I think he had like 50 point something inches, and he won big fish and got first place. So
Wow.
But Paris Edwards, the one that came up to my lake and caught those fish, he took 3rd. But I think they said 11 people. 11 people caught limits out of like 25 or 30 people. And I'm guessing that means I was in 11th place, because I highly doubt anybody had a smaller limit than what I had. But yeah, they did give away some sponsor prizes, like kind of at random, and I ended up winning a Rogue tether.
Okay.
And so I was like, I can use that. I still use a little cheap Walmart tether for my catch board, my heavy catch board. So that'd probably be a little more sturdy for something like that.
I use one for my Hobie drive. I bought one specifically for that. After you flipped, and I was like, I can't lose my drive. That would suck. Yeah. So, yeah. So when you're cranking, are you what depth are you cranking, and are you hitting the bottom? Because I always wondered about that. Like, I don't throw a crankbait much. I've thrown it a few times, but I was wondering if you should be hitting the bottom, or if it's okay to throw that in deep water and just try to get as deep as you can.
See, I'm just getting started in crankbait fishing. Like, there for the longest time, I wouldn't throw one at all because I just never felt comfortable with it. So I may not be right at this at all. That might be why I wasn't catching any bigger fish, only smaller ones. But Yeah, so the lake I was fishing, it gets deep like quick off the bank. Like it's pretty steep and drops off. So I was throwing a medium diver. I think it's like an 8 to 9 foot. And yeah, I was throwing it right up to the bank, coming down. In most places, I didn't feel it hit the bottom or anything like that. Um, I had to be close to the bottom because there were several times where I thought I had done found a big fish, and I feel it. I set the hook. I'm reeling it in. It's coming to me, so I'm like, okay, I'm not snagged on nothing. It's like a big limb that I done drug in. Yeah, and that happened to me like 2 or 3 times. If those were if those hook sets would have been on fish that I imagined them being when I set the hook, then I would have won that tournament. Yeah, so see, I think it just varies on. I think there's times where you want to hit the structure and bottom and stuff. I feel like there's times where you don't. I mean, like I said, I'm still learning about it. But like, I hear people all the time talk about, if you got a bunch of rocks, like letting it bounce off the rocks and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the deflection is what draws the strike, is what I've always heard. But
Yeah.
I've also, like, there's places where I've seen people throwing crankbaits where I know there's no way they're reaching the bottom. It's like 30 feet of water. And I don't know that they make a crankbait that gets 30 feet deep,
Yeah. Not to my knowledge, but I don't know. I know my buddy Thomas, he was saying, at least with his first 2 fish, I don't know if he said anything with the second 2 fish, he caught those cranking, and he said both of them came off of his reeling, and I guess it was close to a piece of wood structure, and he'd feel it hit it, and so he would pause, and like pause for a second and said that's whenever they attacked it. Now, I tried that a couple of times. I didn't have luck doing that. All mine came from just steady reeling. But, yeah, so that was...
Yeah, the few ones that I've caught have been casting parallel to riprap, pulling it towards me, and I got them that way on the crankbait. But that's my only crankbait catches, and like I've thought about throwing it in the river and stuff because it is shallower, but there's so much vegetation and stuff. I was talking to a guy at the tackle shop about that too, and he was telling me you just got to rip it through that, and because I was like, well, every time I pull it up, it's just covered in weeds, and he's like, yeah, if you rip it hard enough, it's gonna clear itself. So I guess I just wasn't ripping. And he said when you're cranking that way, a lot of times I think of crankbaiting, the rod being one of those parabolic bends, so if it's a treble hook bait, it can kind of pin it. But he said when you're pulling through grass like that, at least this is what the guy at the tackle shop said, you want to, a little bit stiffer rod so that you can clear that grass when you're pulling through it. So I just haven't really tried it.
That.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like what he was saying, it sounded like, I was like, yeah, I can see how that would work.
Well, see, I put together a setup for cranking. I think it's a six something, almost 7 foot rod. Is a medium action, and I got like a 6.8 to 1 ratio reel. Well, something that I noticed is some of these crankbaits, there's some aggressive crankbaits, and especially with like deep divers or something, I feel like I'm going to need another setup for like the deep divers and something a little more stout because, I put a little bit bigger crankbait on, and, it feels like I have a fish on there fighting.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said about those limbs, I thought that's what you were going to say because I've had that happen cranking a couple times where I thought, I'm like, it's pulling so hard, there's got to be a fish there, and it's just that you're pulling against the diving aspect, and it feels like that there's a fish. But yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about because I thought that the first time I threw them, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got one right away, and then
Yep. I definitely remember experiencing that before. I feel like I don't. I'm only using like one specific crankbait for the most part. Um, it's like an $11 crankbait, but it's been working great for me. Uh, but I've tried a couple others. I think it goes along with pretty much any other technique that I do. I don't get when I get comfortable with one thing, I don't give other things enough time
Hmm.
to see how they work. I know this one works, so I stick with it. But yeah, I've got some other crankbaits that I'll eventually try. But definitely for like deep divers or those more aggressive ones, I'm probably gonna have to get a different setup, maybe like a medium heavy rod for that.
Yeah, no, I don't have the one I throw my crankbaits on is like one of those cheap Black Max combos. You know, the pretty much the cheapest baitcaster you can get. So, but I mean, it feels like it works for what I need it to, but it probably could
Uh,
be better.
I've said for a long time that Black Max, as far as the reel, I've never messed with the Black Max rod that comes with the combo, but the reel itself, that I feel like that's pretty much the perfect beginner baitcaster for somebody that don't want to spend a bunch of money on a baitcaster but wants to learn one. It's like $40 new or something like that.
Yep.
And I feel like it's a really good reel for the money.
Yeah, no,
I
it's what I started with, and I broke the rod. Actually, now that I think about it, I broke the rod flounder fishing, but I have the Black Max on my 6 gill rod now, and 6 gill medium heavy, like 7 foot. Um, but yeah, I think you can't go really wrong if you want to just try a baitcaster. It's not a bad reel, and maybe somebody who's used to Shimano's or something a lot more fancy would be like, it's a crappy rod or reel. But I mean, for me, it's not clunky. It's and it's held up, for 3 years now that I've had it. So
Yeah, I
um,
mean, I've kind of upgraded. I've got a Black Max. I don't use it anymore. It just sits. I've upgraded. I I wouldn't really want to go back to it just because I like what I have now, but definitely for a beginner that has never thrown one, it's a great reel to learn on. Um, the only complaint about that is the gear ratio. Like I think it's like a six something,
mhm.
and only thing that I use as far as bait casters in six something, and this is just recently when it's me throwing this crankbait. I throw it on like a 6 8 to 1, and other than that, I don't throw anything on that. Now I have just because that's what I had. Like that Black Max, I actually caught my PB on that. Have throwing a jig with that reel.
Okay.
Now I wouldn't recommend that gear ratio because it's like a 6 4 6 3 to 1, something like that.
Hmm.
I wouldn't recommend that gear ratio for a jig rod. But if
So
that's what you
everything you
got, that's
have
what
is
you got.
higher.
Yeah, pretty much everything I use is in the sevens.
Okay.
I got one or two in the eights, but
Okay. I just don't crank, or I don't use my bait catchers as much as my spinning rod, so I haven't experimented with a lot of different speeds. I can't. I have three bait casters: a 6 gill one. Uh, oh, I can't remember what my other one is, but I don't know their speeds off the top of my head, and I haven't experimented enough to know when it's good and when it's bad. So
yeah, I, I, I mean, people heard us talk about it before. You're more of a spinning gear guy, more of a bait caster guy, and so yeah, I've went through quite a few bait casters, like just trying to figure out what I like and everything, and most of them is like find one used for like 20 or 30 bucks and picking it up, and so I've got several reels like that, just sitting. God, I probably got like 6 or 7 maybe more than that now, bait casters that are just sitting on a shelf, don't even get used. But yeah, so I don't know. I really like that 7 area for the most part. I feel like it's not too fast to where you're working your lure too fast. But it is pretty quick. So when you hook a fish, you can get it in pretty quick. Especially for the techniques that I use, I feel like they're good. I feel like there is a place for slower reels, but not with the techniques I use, I guess.
Right, right. No, that makes sense. The spinning reels I have are different gear ratios too. I actually have the a couple of 6 scale rods, and I know or reels, and one of them is the highest spinning rod gear ratio they make. It's like a 9-to-1, but in a spinning rod, so it's pretty fast. And I've actually used that for some of things that normally I think you would throw on a baitcaster. I throw on that high speed spinning reel just because it kind of gives you the same effect. So
Yeah, I carry one spinning rod. I don't remember what the gear ratio is with it.
it'll be
I,
interesting when we square off down at Dare Hollow to see how that goes. I'm curious.
well, are we really going to do that? I thought we were just talking trash. Or are we really going to do that?
Nah, we don't have.
Like, my only thing is, how many days are you going to be down there?
I'm planning on getting down there sometime Friday afternoon and then leaving Sunday sometime. So, because I got to be at work on Monday.
Right. So I was going to say, Saturday is going to be the tournament, and I really don't want to throw this like ruin all
Extra.
chances of the tournament just because I decided to have a side bet with you to where I can only throw spinning gear. Which
Nah.
who knows, that might be what saves me. That might be what wins it. But yeah, quick plug with that. I've been trying to plug this every week just in case people didn't hear the week before. But yeah, Dale Hollow meet in less than 2 weeks now.
Yep.
It'll be October 16th through the 18th. Staying at Eastport Marina. It's over by Dale Hollow Lake in Tennessee. It's going to be a fun time. We got a couple like seminars that we're going to put on. We got a tournament. Tournament that's Saturday morning. It's already on Tourney X where you can sign up. There's Saturday night. JL Folks is going to be playing live down at the bar from like 6 to 9, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. To finally get to meet you guys in person and just to fish someplace completely different.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really cool is, as far as like the people on Paddle and Fin. Like I met Brian for, I don't know, like 30 minutes to an hour in person before. Last year, a trip to Dale Hollow, I met Jay, Brad, and Josh. Other than that, I've never met anybody from in person. And almost everybody's going to be there for this one.
Yep.
Like, if you listen to Paddle and Fin and know all different hosts, I think the only ones that ain't coming is like Susie and JP. Oh, and Armando and Salo.
Silo, yeah.
Other than that, so what do we got? Like 12, 13 people now?
Something like that.
It's like 8 or 9 of us that are going to be there. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. But yeah, I don't think I really got anything else. You got anything, Sean?
I don't think so. I think that wasn't a bad episode. covered our tournaments and got our plug in there for the meetup. I think that was definitely a good idea. So
Yeah. So y'all get out there. If you look on I will say real quick with as far as the meetup, if you look on our Facebook page, there's a little post about that. There's a number for a man named Richard out there at the marina. Call him if you want to set up a reservation. It's like $50 a person per night. So, yeah, get that set up. You got less than 2 weeks.
cool, man. Well, thanks for recapping your tournament, and I'm glad you know. I wouldn't kick yourself at all, dude. Anytime you catch 10 fish in a day, catching, sketching.
That's something I was going to say is that's probably the most fish I've ever caught in a day. They're all little, but it's probably the most fish I've ever caught in a day. So, like, I should be, like, super excited. And I am, because, there were people that didn't catch fish at all. And so that I know how that is. That really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But
definitely. No. I cannot, it's been weird. I've fished probably twice a week now for a couple months, and I have not skunked for a long time. Like, I don't remember the last time I skunked, and I should probably knock on some wood right now.
Yeah, I was about to say you're about to jinx yourself.
Just in time to go to Dale Hollow. That's what'll happen. But
yeah.
Even today, I went out from 2:30 till 5, and I caught one little, probably 10-inch bass, but it was a fish. I missed actually another one. I jumped and threw my spinner, and that would probably have been like maybe at least a 15, but didn't land him. But I did catch that little 10-inch, and kept my streak alive. So I am just as happy with a dink to break my skunk than yeah. So
cool, man.
All right. Well, I guess we'll probably get at least one more show in before Dale Hollow, obviously this week. But hopefully the next time after that, we'll be seeing each other in person. So
it's gonna be cool.
It is gonna be fun.
Less than 2 weeks.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in again for this episode of Bass Fishing for Noobs. We are bringing you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more lips. Have a good evening, and we'll talk to you later.
Later, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. TRC Covers, protect your investment. Ketch Products, shout out to Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com and put the Paddle and Fin logo directly on your catch board. Shout out to JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com, use promo code PNF20 and save 20% on all your jig and tackle needs.